currently rocking a 131. Woke up a little on the higher side this morning. I kind of went to bed and rode high all night and chose not to correct. And it wasn't like it was super high. It was like 150, 160. I should have just taken a unit and gotten it over with. But of course, I chose not to. So not my finest moment, but a learning curve. But not, at least it wasn't like 200 plus. So it hasn't really messed too much with my A1Cs or my averages here. But I did wake up at 126 this morning, which indicates to me to return back to my normal, regularly scheduled basal dosage now that my crazy whacked out period is today. But with that being said, we'll jump into today's video. Hey everyone, it's Maddie. Welcome back to my channel. And I got a lot of new subscribers in the past month and a half here, so I'm going to quick introduce myself if for any of you that are new or don't know a lot about me. So welcome to my channel. My name is Maddie. I've been living with type 1 diabetes for almost a year, and I currently use multiple daily injections and a Dexcom G6 continuous glucose monitor to manage and treat type 1 diabetes, but will be switching in the next few weeks to the Omnipod Dash insulin pump, so you guys get to see videos all about that. If you don't know what I am doing with my life or my career, I am studying to be a dental hygienist and will be starting this fall at my local technical college. And I enjoy making YouTube videos to kind of document my journey pretty much from the beginning of my diagnosis all the way through as I learn and grow. So I hope you enjoy these videos. So with that being said, let's get started with today's bonus video. So obviously you can tell by the title of today's bonus video, I'm going to be talking about a pretty severe low blood sugar attack that I had on May 3rd. So this was Friday, May 3rd, towards the evening that I had this really bad low blood sugar. I'm going to explain the 3 things I knew that went wrong with this low blood sugar, and 2 of these things I could have definitely prevented, and the one thing I couldn't control obviously was a bodily function, so or a hormonal thing. So before I delve into the story, I want to let you guys know that my story probably isn't the scariest low you've had, or you've probably been lower. The lowest that I got in this situation was probably the upper 30s. However, my body felt like it was ready to pass out at that level. I felt like I was going to die. And I hear some of you that have had blood sugars in the teens or the 20s and were still conscious and fully awake and didn't feel low. That's not good. However, my body was giving me a lot of warning signs, and I think everybody's threshold for low blood sugar is different. I definitely feel like if I dipped like this level again, I might use the glucagon on myself, because it was getting to the point where no matter how much I ate or drank, this blood sugar would not come up. So let me start off by the beginning by saying the day that I had this low blood sugar attack was the day that I had injected my long-acting Basaglar, which is you guys call it, and what I call it is Lantus, into my muscular region of my thigh. Now, when I'm going to talk more about intramuscular injections in the future, but when you inject insulin into a muscle, particularly long-acting insulin, it messes with its ability to function properly. Basal insulin, or long-acting insulin, when you're on multiple daily injections, is designed to keep your blood sugar steady and stable for a 24-hour period, to kind of cover in between meals, and to kind of aid with the bolus to kind of help keep those blood sugar levels as steady and as healthy as possible. But when you inject long-acting insulin into a muscle, it kind of ends up working like really sporadic Humalog or Novolog. My blood sugar graph all day was high, low, high, low, high, low, high, low, high, low. I was either at 160 or 70. It was like no in between. I couldn't keep it up. It looked like a roller coaster. So that was definitely one thing that contributed to this low blood sugar, is definitely having that Lantus probably overactive during that time was not helping this low blood sugar. So that I could have definitely prevented the night before. The second thing that happened was I started my period. And normally during my period, I run a little bit higher. But this is the second time in all the time that I've had type 1 diabetes that I've ran more lower or normal on my period, and I just wasn't expecting that. So the fact that my hormones threw a curveball at me made it more difficult to get this low blood sugar up and treat it, because I was treating myself as normal dosing for my period or normal dosing altogether. I wasn't thinking to reduce my dose, nor was I expecting to have to reduce my dose for my period. And the third thing that happened is I definitely over-bolused too much up front. I had Chinese food. Chinese food is super high fat, super high carb. I did have some things that were going to drive the blood sugar up. However, the amount of food that I put in was probably more high fat, and I think Chinese food is one of those things that really can only be perfectly mastered on an insulin pump. This is only the second time in my life of living with type 1 diabetes that I've had Chinese food, and this was obviously a huge learning curve. I did make a mistake, but I'm going to move forward and I'm going to learn from it. And because of that high fat food, when I went to go treat that low blood sugar, I wasn't very hungry, nor was the food I was eating. It was all blocked by that high fat stuff that was sitting in my stomach, so it wasn't being absorbed as quick as it needed to be. So those are the 3 things that really went wrong in this story. I kind of wanted to explain them piece by piece so you guys know kind of what happened in that one. I'll start with, obviously, I was riding a roller coaster all day, high, low, high, low, high, low, Lantus in the muscle. Get to the restaurant, and I look at a plate of food. Now, this food is very high carb, but it's very high fat. I looked at the plate of food, and I go, I know I need at least 7 units. Because I've been riding high, low all day, and I was kind of on the lower side, I did not pre-bolus. So, meaning I took my injection, I began eating my rice, my crab ragoons. I think I had, like a piece of cake, and all these higher carb foods, plus my fattier foods, like the greasier vegetables and all that stuff. I started consuming my meal right away. I did not delay waiting for the insulin to kick in first. So that was all fine and dandy. My blood sugar went from like 90-something to 130-something, then it leveled off. I'm like, oh great, I must have nailed this. But within 30 minutes, within 20 minutes after that level, it was dropping. Pretty soon it was 120, 110, 90, 80, 70. And I'm thinking, uh-oh, I made a huge mistake here. I put way too much in up front. Or I took too much insulin altogether. So, I took a look at my monitor and I thought, okay, I'm 75, angle down, slight angle down. I can catch this with something. So I went back to the table and I grabbed something rapid acting. I think I had like a piece of cake. Not like I was eating chocolate or ice cream or anything super fatty. I was eating like regular stuff that was pure sugar to try to bring this up. I kept shoving food in my mouth. It wasn't going up. Pretty soon I was 67, angle down. 65, angle down. And then we were leaving the restaurant, and I'm thinking, okay, let's just make sure Dexcom's working. So I took a finger prick, and Dexcom said I was like 63, and my meter was 67. I'm thinking, uh-oh. Thank God I have Dexcom, and it's saving my life, but I hated to see that Dexcom was right. So I get into my grandma's vehicle, and now at this point, I'm starting to get hypoglycemia symptom. I looked at my monitor again. It was 55, slight angle headed down, thinking, oh my God, none of the stuff that I use to treat the low wasn't kicking in. So I quick shoved a bunch of Skittles and glucose tabs in my mouth. Waited like 10 or 15 minutes like you normally would. Was still headed down. Now it was like 49, slight angle down. And at this point, I'm starting to get freaked out. At this point now, I'm experiencing pretty intense hypoglycemia symptoms. Like my heart has never pounded this fast. I was shaking. I was getting confused. I didn't have blurry vision, but I definitely feel like my eyes were just tightening up, and I felt like they were getting crossed, or that somebody was pushing my eyeballs with their fingers. That's what it felt like to me. So I told my grandma, I said, just so you know, I said, this little blood sugar is not coming up. You may have to use glucagon on me. She's like, oh my God, I'm not going to use glucagon on you. And she knows how to use it. I had no fear of her learning how to use it, but she was kind of freaked out too because I think she knew it was dangerous. So I thought at this point, okay, I've tried everything and nothing's coming up. And I was like, at this point, I don't care how high the blood sugar goes after. I knew it was going to rebound no matter what. So I slugged, with shaky hands like this, I slugged a juice box down. And 20 minutes later, the blood sugar still wasn't coming up. It was like 43 angle down. I checked on a meter, and it was like 50 or 49. It was like, Dexcom was accurate. But I definitely think Dexcom was more correct in the situation because I definitely wasn't, my meter told me I was like 50 or 49. I definitely felt way lower than that. I was approaching the upper 30s. And the juice still hadn't kicked in. I had taken the juice and my grandma's like, I'm dropping you off home. I said, no, you're not. I said, if I pass out in my house, I'm going to die. No one's going to be there to call 911 or give me glucagon, and I'm going to seize on the floor, and I'm going to pass out, and I'm going to go unconscious, and I'm going to go into a coma and die because all my blood sugar's going to drop. And what was scaring me is between 20 minutes time between us driving from the restaurant and driving home, and my blood sugar went from the upper 60s to the upper 40s, and that was scary. It was like dropping a point a minute. And when you're low, there's not much more room for you to go low. Once you start low, it doesn't take long for you to keep plummeting and plummeting and plummeting. At this point, I said I was getting extremely low, and when I got upstairs at my grandma's house, I was obviously shaking and stuff. And when I checked with the meter, like I told you, it was upper 50s, low 40s, but I definitely felt lower than that. And Dexcom was reading lower 40s into the upper 30s, when it would have read LOW on the monitor. So at this point, I'm going, oh my God, I'm gonna die. Or I'm going to have to administer glucagon on myself, or my grandma's going to have to administer glucagon. So I slugged the juice, and I figured, all right, Maddie, wait this out 15 more minutes. And if it doesn't come back up, because I was riding low for pretty much almost an hour at that point, because it had started dropping at the restaurant, and by the time we got home and drove, 20 to 30 to 40 minutes have passed. I'm riding low for almost a whole hour. So I'm thinking, what in the heck is going on? So I had the juice. I had drank it, maybe 10 minutes before we got to my grandma's house. And like I said, I climbed up her stairs, and I laid on the floor with my head on the floor, bawling and praying to God to not let me die, because I'm sitting there going, okay, if this is the end of the road for me, fine, but I don't want this to be the way I die. I don't want to die from hypoglycemia. This would be a horrible way to go. I don't want to seize. I don't want people to see me seize. I don't want to go through that. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't care if my blood sugar goes to 400 tonight. I can fix that later. I just don't want to seize. I don't want to pass out. I don't want to have to use glucagon. None of that. So, waited it out 10 more minutes. By that time, the CGM didn't quite pick up the reading, but I was patient enough to wait. And before I know it, my meter and my blood sugar monitor said, my meter said 85, and my blood sugar monitor said 78 angle up, and I'm thinking, I'm gonna be okay. Now keep in mind, I still had the hypoglycemia symptoms because this was a pretty bad low. And like I said, I probably get to hear stories of you guys going lower and not passing out. However, I pretty much found out in this night that my low blood sugar threshold isn't very low. In the upper 30s, I felt like I was ready to pass out and die, because I was starting to get confused. And my grandma's like, why are you so anxious? Why are you so nervous and panicking? I said, you don't understand. I was still conscious enough to say this, or comprehensive enough to think this. I said, what you don't understand is that this is part of being low. Being anxious and nervous is part of that symptomatology. And she was saying, I hope your doctors know about that and stuff. I said, they do. Don't worry about it. I said, they know that this is part of the symptomatology. I think she was more scared than anything to have to use the glucagon, but she also didn't understand that anxiety and nervousness is part of being low. And like I said, I didn't actually have blurry vision, but I was getting to that point where my eyes were starting to cross. And when I was speaking, my speech wasn't like slurred, but it was like stuttered and very fragmented sentences. It was definitely like I was losing my ability to talk. And it was starting to freak me out a little bit. It's like, okay, this is serious. But still comprehensive enough to pray to God and talk a little bit to my grandma. And thank God I stayed with her and that I was able to get up. I will put my 24-hour graph for you guys here. And my blood sugar ended up skyrocketing to 230. But nonetheless, I took one correction with my basal shot before I went to bed. And I took another correction like 2 or 3 hours later in the middle of the night. And I woke up at 88 or 89. So that nightmare kind of went away. And it took me like a day to not fear high blood sugar, because like that following day my blood sugar rode like in the 210 range because I under bolused for a meal, freaking out that I was gonna go low because of my period. I think my period really messed with me for this low blood sugar, but I knew mostly it was that Lantus shot, and also because of my period I needed to reduce my dose. So the next 3 days or so I reduced the amount of insulin, the bolus insulin I took, by 20 or 25%, and it kept me normal. But now I'm riding the opposite, so I know I have to transition back to my normal stuff. Kind of a weird, whacked out period. This is only the second time I've had this happen where my period has made me run low to normal instead of high. So it's kind of a strange thing for me, but I learned from it. And the main thing is that I made a mistake and I learned from it. I didn't let it get to me, and I fixed the problem, and now we're back to normal, and we're stable. We're not riding hypoglycemia. As a matter of fact, I haven't had a low blood sugar in 5 days now since I've had this really bad low. But just so you know, if you're newly diagnosed or have never had a severe low blood sugar. I consider anything severe if you're getting into the 40s, you guys, because at that point, once you're in the 40s, you're going to start plummeting even faster. And even most endo offices will tell you anything less than 50 is a severe low blood sugar. I've been in the 40s a couple times, but it hasn't been very long, and it's been upper 40s, but this was approaching the upper 30s, and I definitely think I probably was in the upper 30s because monitors and meters are within 10, so my monitor telling me I was like upper 40s, or my meter or whatever, and I actually could have been 10 points less, and it wasn't reading that correctly, or it wasn't getting that precise, because monitors and meters can only be as precise as possible. They're usually within 10 milligrams per deciliter, or just under 1 millimole-ish in variance. So I learned from my mistake, and I moved on, and I wanted to share this experience with you guys to let you know I'm okay. You guys probably saw a post that I was very lucky to be here, and I'm going to give you a tip. If you do consume a high-fat meal and you think you overbolused for it, kind of like I did with the Chinese food, I should have went right for the juice right away. Because the food like the Skittles and the glucose tablets, as much as those do bring blood sugars up, it's not like I chose an incorrect thing to treat my blood sugar problem. Because all that food was settled in my stomach, it couldn't get digested and broken down fast enough. So, drink juice or some form of liquid sugar, because it'll go around that food that's in your stomach, and it'll coat your stomach lining, and it'll get absorbed pretty quick. Like I said, because within 25 minutes of me drinking that juice, I was 85 with slight arrow headed up, and pretty soon I was 110 and double arrows headed up, or triple arrows headed up, or whatever. Like I said, I'll put my 24-hour graph in here for you guys so you can see that kind of bouncing around from the Lantus. So there's definitely two factors I could have controlled here, but being that my period threw a curveball at me, that was something I couldn't control and couldn't understand and care for until I got in that situation. And I wanted to share this with you guys to let you know that you're going to have, if you haven't had a low, dangerous low at this point and you're newly diagnosed, or you haven't had a severe low, you're going to probably have one. And if it comes from overbolusing for food and a weird hormonal thing, plus having Atlantis in your muscle, or one of the following, at least of those three factors that I'm sharing with you, go for the juice right away. That is the moral of the story, because that'll coat your stomach and get around all that fatty food, or the fatty high carb, high fatty food that you ate, and it'll get absorbed quickly. So I hope you enjoyed this bonus video. I am okay. I'm alive. I don't ever want to have that again. And I think if obviously the juice wouldn't have worked in 10 or 15 minutes and it kept continuing to drift lower, I would have used the glucagon on myself or made my grandma administer it, even though I was conscious, just because no matter how much I was eating or drinking, it wasn't going up. And obviously the glucagon would have bypassed all that and gotten biochemically into my body and told my liver to release the stored sugar and get me all back in gear. But I did not have to use the glucagon, thank God, but I came close. I was probably 5 to 10 minutes away from using the glucagon. Kidding you not. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a big thumbs up. Feel free to hit that subscribe button down below. I post videos every single week about diabetes plus more. And I wanted to point out too that the scamming incident is still kind of going on. You may have seen a post I made not too long ago on Beyond Type 1 that I will no longer be posting direct links to my most recent videos, mainly because whoever posts these links for me, or if I post them myself, I am getting messages from hosts or staff members that my posts are being flagged. So I don't need that happening, and I don't need to be getting messaged by a moderator every morning every time I post a video, no matter if it's sporadic or not, or whatever I post as far as links is getting marked as spam, nor do I need anybody else doing that. So I made a compromise so you can do one of three things if you want direct links to my videos when they go up. Number one is if you're not subscribed to this channel and you're interested, subscribe, and there's a notification bell. When you turn that on, YouTube will usually give you a notification when I upload something new. The second thing you can do is if you do follow me on Beyond Type 1, if you go to my profile page, you go down towards the personal links section or the about section, there will be a link directly to my YouTube channel and my Facebook page, T1D with Maddie. When you click either of those links, if you go to the Facebook page, I post links all the time about my newest and latest video. That is a direct link to that newest video. And then if you go to the YouTube channel link, it'll direct you to my YouTube channel homepage. And all you have to do is like pull down on your device or your computer and hit the refresh button. and it'll give you my most recent videos that I posted and what day they posted and what day they were published to the public. Your third option is to follow me on Twitter at Maddie J. Neal. That is always linked in the description boxes of my videos, plus on my About section on YouTube. You can follow me there because every single time I post a new video, I tweet the actual link to that video, so you get a direct link that way. Again, I apologize if this is inconvenient for anybody. It is an inconvenience to me. However, I'm not giving up. I am just simply rerouting my way of sharing my content, and until this spammer or scammer or person or persons back off, this is the best way I can find to reroute them now. Not letting it bother me. This person is obviously jealous, or is so angry at the world that they want to take it out on somebody, and they chose me, and that's okay. I've been beaten up before and put down by many people and many people in my life, and I'm not gonna let it get to me. And this person or persons is not winning. I'm simply, like I said, rerouting my way of directing my content. Thank you for any of you that have stood up for me and supported me during this kind of a weird time. You don't know how much your love and support mean to me. It means the world to me. It means more to me than you ever can imagine. It touches my heart to know that I've got an army of people that really support me and care about me and want to see me create content to help you guys, because the sole purpose of this YouTube channel is to connect other people like myself or people that don't have this condition and to expose them to things that they never would have thought about, and share my experiences, because I think my experiences can really help people. And what I'm talking about is some pretty vulnerable stuff. Like, obviously, this low blood sugar story is kind of scary to talk about and scary to remember and relive and think about. And like I said, I had a fear of low blood sugar for about a day, and then I finally realized there was a few factors that caused that, and I learned how to correct those factors, especially the two that I can control and the one I couldn't. Obviously, you can't, and learn from it. So my learning experiences, I hope, are helping some of you, especially if you are newly diagnosed, or like I said, if you're experienced and never went through anything like me, because obviously everybody's type 1 diabetes journey is different. I hope you can learn from my experiences and the tips that I've given you. Like I said, not everything I do say or post about is going to be geared towards your life, because obviously if you don't have an Omnipod insulin pump, the tips I talk about with the Omnipod are not going to apply to you, but maybe general tips about insulin pumping you might be able to learn from me when I get learning to that about myself here. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video, and until tomorrow for another bonus video, take care, God bless, be kind, spread positivity, and be thankful. Bye, everyone.